Once you get into a rhythm of making sheet pan meals, you won't stop. I literally throw everything onto one pan, my veggies, my meats, the starches, it goes into the oven and bakes, and then there you go. You have dinner onto your table. Sheet pan meals are so easy to make, so today I'm sharing 5 new recipes with you. Let's get to my kitchen and let's get to cooking. We're starting today off with this Italian sausage and veggie sheet pan dinner. This one is an amazing higher protein, lower carb option, and it's a really yummy one to add to your meal rotation. But I just started out by cutting up my veggies. I sliced my 1 red onion, 3 large carrots, and I halved my 1 pound of Brussels sprouts. Add your veggies into a big bowl. You could always use different veggies if you don't like these particular veggies. That's what's so nice about sheet pan meals. You could really make them your own so easily. But I also added in 3 tablespoons of olive oil, my zesty Italian seasoning, and then I'm adding in my 1 teaspoon of ranch seasoning mix. These 2 seasoning mixes together just work so well with this recipe. Give this a super duper good stir, pull out a sheet pan, line it with parchment paper, add your veggies right onto your sheet pan and kind of spread them out. And then over the top of the veggies, you're going to add your 1 pound of Italian sausage. I'm using the mild Italian sausage, but actually the sweet Italian sausage is my favorite Italian sausage to use for this recipe. My store was just sold out of the sweet Italian sausage, but you could use hot sausage, really any sausage you like. Bake this in a preheated oven to 425 degrees for about 25 to 30 minutes or until your veggies are tender and your sausage is cooked through. Here's what dinner looks like. This is also a great meal if you want to make it into kind of like a freezer meal. You could place this mixture into like freezer bags so easily. I've done that before too, and it works out really, really well. And like I said before, use any veggies you like for this. That sausage is cooked to perfection. Everything is so good. Now we're getting started on this applewood smoked pork tenderloin, and this is actually one of the first things that I started making when Will and I first got married, just because I would make it and then we'd have enough for either lunch or dinner the next day. So it's really easy to throw together too. To a bowl, add in 1 pound of halved Brussels sprouts, 1 pound of golden potatoes cut into kind of like bite-sized pieces, then 1 pound of asparagus. Then you're going to add in 4 tablespoons of olive oil, a dash of salt and pepper, and then 1/2 teaspoon of paprika and onion powder. The nice thing about sheet pan meals is you could really add any veggies. Like I said before, you could add different veggies if you like, really make it your own so easily, but these are the veggies that I'm using for today. Grab a sheet pan, add your veggies right onto your sheet pan, kind of spread them out to like an even layer. Then you're going to grab your Smithfield applewood smoked pork tenderloin. I really like this flavor of pork tenderloin, but you could always use, like different flavors of seasoned pork tenderloins. Bake it in your preheated oven to 425 degrees for about 45 minutes. Here's what it looks like. I've tried this in the past with a garlic and herb seasoned pork tenderloin, and that one also came out so good. These pre-seasoned pork tenderloins are just great to cook with because they're pre-seasoned and they really are fairly affordable. This meal is absolutely delicious, and like I said, I've been making it for years and years. We really do enjoy it. Now we're getting started on my all-time favorite loaded sheet pan quesadillas. So to a pan on the stove, add in 1/2 of a diced onion. Also add in 1 pound of ground beef. Just break that ground beef up and cook it through. Once it's cooked through, just remove any excess grease from your pan. Then add in about 2 tablespoons of taco seasoning along with 1/2 cup of water. Give this a little stir. Let it simmer for a couple minutes. Then go ahead and add in about 1/4 cup of salsa along with 15 ounces of drained corn. Then add in 15 ounces of drained and rinsed black beans. I do want to let you know, if you don't want to use ground beef, you could always use ground chicken, ground turkey, or really any meat substitute that you like. Let it simmer for a couple minutes. Now grab a sheet pan and then place about 5 tortillas on the bottom of your sheet pan. Then you're going to place 1 in the center. You want the tortillas to slightly overlap. Also, open your cookbook because you will find this recipe on page 84 and it is in the sheet pan section. I self-published this cookbook last year and it has all of our favorite easy recipes in it. There's lots of sections like slow cooker meals, breakfast, sides and appetizers, of course desserts, one pot meals like super quick dinners. I seriously have it all in this book. But over the top of the tortillas, you're going to place like the taco mixture. You want to make sure you spread that out super evenly. Then over the top of the taco mixture, you're going to sprinkle cheese. If you're not a cheese fan, you of course just don't have to add the cheese over the top. Once you're through adding the cheese, place one tortilla in the center, then you're going to fold in the edges of the tortillas, kind of like overlapping on the sides. Fold it in tightly. You don't want like the meat mixture or the cheese exposed, otherwise it might like fall out. But place a second sheet pan over the top. Make sure it's greased on the bottom, and that will help it get super crispy in the end. Bake this in a preheated oven to 425 degrees for about 20 minutes. Your sheet pan quesadilla will turn out so good. Top it with your favorite toppings. It's like crunchy on the outside. The center is just so delicious. You could fill your quesadillas with anything you like. You can make this like a chicken quesadilla. I've done that in the past. You could seriously add anything in these quesadillas. They're 10 out of 10. I can't tell you how many times I get requests to make fish recipes, so now we are making this baked sheet pan tilapia. I started out by cutting up my veggies, my yellow squash, zucchini, broccoli, and carrots. Now to this little bowl, I added in 2 tablespoons of olive oil, a tablespoon of minced garlic, 2.5 tablespoons of lemon juice, a half a teaspoon of salt, a dash of pepper, and then a teaspoon of Italian seasoning, teaspoon of oregano, and paprika. Give this stir. This is kind of like the fish marinade. This is going to give the fish a lot of added flavor, plus it is also going to give like the veggies added flavor. So after you're through giving this a stir and everything is well combined, you're going to pull out a sheet pan, and you could either spray that sheet pan with nonstick spray. I didn't have any nonstick spray on hand. I used it all, so I just poured a little bit of oil and I'm brushing that oil on. But now add your 1 pound of asparagus onto your sheet pan, then add in the remaining vegetables. Over the top of the vegetables, after you're through kind of like spreading them out, you're going to add about 4 tilapia fillets. You could always add more tilapia or less tilapia. Also, I did get this tilapia in the frozen food section of Walmart, and it was a pretty good price. You could also use salmon or cod for this recipe, or shrimp. You could really use any seafood that you like. Now go ahead and brush the marinade over the top of the chicken, and then you could kind of drizzle it over the veggies as well. This will bake in a preheated oven to 400 degrees for about 20 minutes. You know the fish will be done once it's kind of like flaky and falling apart. As you probably know, I don't cook with fish often, but I really need to start cooking with it more often, especially tilapia. Tilapia is more of like a mild fish, so if you have little ones or you're not like a super big fan of fish, tilapia is a great option just because, like I said, it's mild. Plus, my little ones like eating it with ketchup, so if you have little ones, they might really enjoy tilapia. Now we're getting started on this 1-pan barbecue chicken dinner. This one is a total fun one. So I have about 1.5 pounds of golden potatoes. I cut them into wedges. I do find that wedges work best for this recipe, but you could cut them into like smaller pieces or like French fries if you'd like. But I set the wedges to the side. In this bowl, I just added 1 cup of barbecue sauce. Next, add in a half of a lime, just juice it right in there. Then add in a tablespoon of honey. This is really going to elevate the barbecue sauce. Give it a little stir. Once everything is combined, just set it to the side. Now pull out a sheet pan. I did line mine with foil just for easy cleanup. Add the wedges down and then place about 4 ears of corn around the wedges. This dinner is so good and it's really fun to make. Now drizzle on about 3 tablespoons of olive oil, drizzle it all over the potatoes and the corn. Then sprinkle a dash of salt and pepper all over the top. Give this a little stir. You want the potatoes super coated in the oil and the seasonings. Now place your chicken in the center of the sheet pan. I'm using 4 thin pieces of chicken breast, but you could use like thicker chicken if you'd like. Just pour the barbecue sauce over the top of the chicken. Make sure it's coated on both sides. This is going to bake in a preheated oven to 375 degrees for about 35 minutes, or until those wedges are like fork tender and your chicken is completely cooked through. This one is definitely one of my all-time favorite sheet pan dinners. Those potato wedges are like perfectly tender. The corn is cooked to perfection. And then that barbecue sauce mixture over the top of the chicken. It's like a little bit sweet, but so bold and delicious. I always start making this one once like the weather starts warming up outside. It's absolutely delicious. I would really love to have you over here, so make sure you're subscribed. I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.